The Messiah in Psalm 22. Messiah pierced? Okay, let's take a look at a couple of translations regarding Psalm 22 and the Messiah being pierced. For dogs have encompassed me, a company of evildoers have enclosed me. Like a lion, they are at my hands and my feet. This is the JPS translation of Psalm 22:17, the Jewish Publication Society. And then we have, for dogs encompass me, a company of evildoers encircles me. They have pierced my hands and feet. This is the ESV translation of Psalm 22:16, the English Standard Version, and of course, the majority of modern translations of the Bible have, they have pierced my hands and feet, versus like a lion, they are at my hands and feet. So the question remains, which is correct? Now, if we look at the Hebrew of Psalm 22:16 or 17 in the JPS, we see something interesting in the Messianic text of the Hebrew translation. This word kari, this is where the JPS translates like a lion. And of course, this is how the Messianic text of the Hebrew uses the same word, kari. Now, in a Targum translation, we have both being used of biting as a lion or boring as a lion my hands and my feet, using the Hebrew kari and the other Hebrew of karu, which of course kari is as the lion and karu to bore or dig, where we get most modern English translations of pierced or boring into my hands and my feet. So again, we can see the Masoretic text has kari as the lion, where the Targum uses both as the lion and also to bore or pierce into the hands and my feet, or biting as the Targum puts it. So again, the question remains, which is correct? Now, if we look at the Dead Sea Scroll fragment that was found of Psalm 22, verse 16 or 17, the JPS, you'll see that the Hebrew karu with the vav is in the Dead Sea Scroll of Psalm 22, not kari. So karu here with the vav is showing that it is referring to the piercing, boring, or digging of the hands of the feet, not the yod for like a lion. As you would see the yod over here in the Dead Sea Scroll, it is clearly a vav for karu. So here we have that the writers of the Dead Sea Scroll understood this to be karu, the boring or digging or the piercing of the hands of the feet, not kari, like a lion. So this gives a little more weight to the karu translation of the English Bibles. So then another question remains, what about Jewish sources and commentaries in regards to Psalm 22? Is there anything that we could find in reference to Psalm 22 and the Messiah being pierced or bored or dug within the hands of the feet, understanding this text as a messianic prophecy of the Messiah being killed? Well, we have a 19th century Jewish work in which a remarkable interpretation materializes, explaining that the Messiah, named Ephraim, suffers for the sins of Israel and of the world when God makes an agreement with him to be afflicted for their sake. In the writing it says, during the 7-year period preceding the coming of the day of the Son of David, iron beams will be brought low and loaded upon his neck until the Messiah's body is bent low. Then he will cry and weep, and his voice will rise to the very height of heaven. And he will say to God, Master of the universe, how much can my strength endure? How much can my spirit endure? How much my breath before it ceases? How much can my limbs suffer? Am I not flesh and blood? And again, this is in Yalkut Rabbati, Pesach 36:2, which is a well-respected Jewish authority and rabbinic commentary. And again, continuing that same commentary of Yalkut Rabbati, it is said, as is said, all they that see me laugh me to scorn. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head. Psalm 22:8. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue cleaveth to my throat. And thou layest me in the dust of death. Psalm 22:16. Moreover, they will roar over him like lions, as is said, they open wide their mouth against me, as a ravening and roaring lion. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is become like wax, it is melted in my inmost parts. And again, this is Psalm 22, 14 through 15, regarding to Ephraim, my true Messiah, in this same well-respected Jewish commentary, Yalkut Rebbati. So again, we see that this is in reference to the Messiah in rabbinic and Jewish literature. Now, if we look at other passages of pierced in reference to the Messiah, in the Hebrew prophets of Zechariah, we read, "And they shall look unto me because they have pierced him through." And again, this is referring to the Messiah, because it is in the Babylonian Talmud of Sukkah that says it is on account of the Messiah, the son of Joseph, who was killed. We can make sense of the following verse of Scripture, "And they shall look on me because they have thrust him through." So we see that even within the Babylonian Talmud of Sukkah, they understand that Zechariah 12:10, the Messiah would be thrust or pierced through in that passage. And if we continue looking at Isaiah the prophet, in Isaiah 53:5, we see, "But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the chastisement that brought us peace, and with his wounds we are healed." And looking at rabbinic and Jewish commentaries on Isaiah 53, we find chastisements are divided to three parts: one to David and the fathers, one to our generation, and one to the King Messiah, as it is written, "He was pierced for our transgressions and bruised for our iniquities." And below again are the Jewish and rabbinic sources of Yalkut and the Zohar, and of course Midrash Ruth, that connect Isaiah 53 with King Messiah, who would suffer for the sins of Israel. So what is our conclusion? Even though there are different translations of Psalm 22 regarding the Messiah being pierced, Jewish sources say that it is talking about the Messiah, son of Joseph. The Dead Sea Scroll fragment of Psalm 22 does support the Hebrew for being pierced or bored in the hands and feet. And there are other Hebrew verses like Zechariah 12 and Isaiah 53 that support the Messiah being pierced and killed for the sake of Israel. And let us remember the words of Yeshua Jesus. "Behold my hands and my feet, that it is I, myself." Yeshua, Luke 24:39.